What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. And yo, I don't know if you guys are following this whole Disney versus Desantis thing, but this stuff is just absolutely fascinating, man. Absolutely fascinating. I'm learning a lot right now. I'm learning about tax fraud. I'm learning about securities fraud. I'm learning about how these, special districts in Florida work and, all of the stuff that goes around this argument, between these two entities, okay, between the state of Florida and the Walt Disney Company. All right. And I just wanted to drop my thoughts on what I think is going to be kind of the end result of all of this. First of all, let me say this. I've been listening to cats that are given, the only ones given, in my opinion, the Florida side of the argument, okay? You go on mainstream media, everybody's talking about Disney's side, okay? Oh, Disney got Ron DeSantis over a barrel, okay? And whether or not that's true, all right, that's the only side you're hearing. You're not hearing anything from the other side. And there's three cats that I'm really gonna, shout out. Legal Mindset. I've been watching his videos. This guy is like a special tax district Florida expert, okay? He knows everything about it. It's his legal background, okay? He is a lawyer. He is an attorney, okay? And that's his specialty, tax districts in Florida. So I'm like, oh, okay, somebody that probably should be getting listened to, okay? Or whatever, all right? Then you got WDW Pro. This dude is like the Disney insider. He always seems to have information from the inside, knowing what's happening in Disney, knowing how these cats are talking about this situation. So you got him. And then, of course, you got Valliant Renegade, who I think has like a finance background or something like that. But anyway, like I said, these guys are like the only ones presenting here's the Florida side of the argument and why this thing may not work out in Disney's favor like everybody is saying, okay? So I think it's like, if you're being honest, you at least have to listen to both sides of the argument, okay? And so, yeah, I highly recommend you guys go and follow these dudes, okay? They talk about other stuff too, okay? It's not just about this. But yeah, they all got YouTube channels. They all got Twitters. So check them out. Follow them if you're not already doing that, and then you can kind of make up your own mind on the information. You don't just have to listen to the mainstream media spit all of this stuff in your face and you're like, well, gee, I guess, Ron DeSantis, they got him over a barrel, okay? Maybe they don't, all right? But yeah, I wanted to go ahead and discuss this thing. Now, let me also say how you feel about this situation. Let's just be honest about it, okay? For most people, it's going to come down to how you feel about Ron DeSantis or how you feel about Disney, okay? That's kind of where it's coming down to. If you don't like the governor of Florida for whatever reason, okay, you're probably going to side with Disney, all right? And if you don't like Disney, okay, you're probably going to side with Florida and Ron DeSantis, okay? That's just the way life goes, all right? And let me say this. I don't have any side, okay? I'm not altogether on anybody's side because nobody's altogether on mine, all right? I'm the only one to give a shit about these damn woods. All I want is for Disney to lose enough money until they're forced to sell Lucasfilm, okay? After that, Disney can burn up in fire. I could care less about Disney, all right? I just want to get Lucasfilm back, get it from out of these fools' clutches, all right? So we can start getting some good Star Wars again. But never mind that. I think what we're going to end up seeing here, honestly, in a lot of ways, is just the ultimate get woke, go broke situation, okay? Combined with a hefty dose of fuck around and find out, all right? Now you got this Bob Iger chiding Ron DeSantis, do you want our biz, taxes or not? He slams the Florida's governor's false narrative and retaliation over what we call the Parental Rights and Education Bill, okay? Instead of this other stuff. But listen to this, man. This was a monster of their own making, okay? Because I understand, yeah, you got the right to say whatever it is you want to say. What you don't have the right to do is try to use your weight and influence, okay, to try to change legislation. I thought people used to hate that stuff, okay? And now it seems like everybody, they can say and do whatever they want to do. All right, but yeah, it's one thing to donate to causes and make woke content, all right, to try to support the stuff that you want to support. But it's another thing to try to use your weight and influence in the state of Florida, all right, after you've been given nothing but privileges in the state of Florida to gain all of this weight of influence and hire all these people. Florida helped y'all out, all right? And they kept them open during the pandemic. I mean, Florida has been one of your biggest supporters, Disney. And this is the thanks you get? You're going to use your weight and your sway and your influence, right? To hey, we're just going to ignore the legislation and what the people wanted, all right? And we're going to interject ourselves into the local politics of a state and try to get some of these decisions overturned or repealed or whatever. That's what you're going to do? I used to think that people hated that about corporations meddling with government, okay? Meddling with the people. Our government's in the back pocket of these big companies. And people used to hate that. And now everybody's like, yeah, you go, Disney. It's like, what the hell is happening here? And everybody's saying, it's this retaliation. DeSantis is retaliating against Disney. Maybe he is. I don't know. Okay, maybe. But you remember from training day, right?
It's not what you know. It's what you can prove.
You gotta prove it. We're talking about a legal case, all right? Courts of law are not about feelings. It's about the law and it's about the facts, okay? Like Nate the lawyer says, what can you prove, all right? If you can't prove it, get lost, okay? Do you have proof, all right? Not your feelings. Don't tell me how y'all feel about it. Talk to me about the actual proof. Yeah, they're going to present evidence and all of that stuff, but does it prove their case? Because so far, all the actions that have been taken in regards to this situation that they call retaliation, all of those actions have been against who? Reedy Creek, the Reedy Creek Improvement District, and that's not supposed to be Disney. We'll get to that as well. But let's go ahead and read and see what Bob Iger got to say. Does the state want us to invest more, employ more, and pay more taxes or not? Disney CEO Bob Iger rhetorically asked today on the ongoing attacks on the Mouse House by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. There's a false narrative that we've been fighting to protect tax breaks as a part of this. The politically savvy executive, you see how they call him? He's politically savvy, okay? All right? They just can't call him the executive. He's a politically savvy executive. You see how this stuff just kind of leans towards Disney, all right? Of the ongoing war of words in the media and the courts with the would-be 2024 White House candidate. But in fact, we're the largest taxpayer in Central Florida, paying over $1.1 billion in state and local taxes last year alone. This is about one thing and one thing only, and that's retaliating against us for taking a position about pending legislation. Yeah, see, again, you can take a position, all right? But it's one thing to take a position, and it's one thing to say, hey, we're going to throw our weight, okay? We're going to throw our influence out there. We got lobbyists, all right? We're going to bring our lobbyists in to try to get all of this stuff overturned. We're going to try to get all of this stuff wiped out, all right? The very thing that a lot of people hate about big business, big corporations, okay? Stepping into your little small town and just kind of controlling everything, all right? And your voice and your vote means absolutely nothing, okay? Because this big company has the money and the power and the influence to just completely run the politicians, all right? And again, it used to be that people had a problem with this. As you can see by this tweet from the Walt Disney Company, Florida's HB 1557 should have never passed and should have never been signed into law. Our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts, and we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. We are dedicated to standing up for the rights and safety of LGBTQ plus members of the Disney family, as well as the community, Florida, etc., and so on. Okay, so again, he's saying that, yeah, this was their goal as a company, okay, to strike down a law that had, been voted on by the legislature, okay, by the people of Florida, all right, and to have it struck down or to have it struck down in the courts. So I get that you might not be happy with the decision that DeSantis made, but at the same time, they shouldn't be sticking their nose into state legislature like this, okay? Again, that's how I feel about companies. It is not a company's responsibility, all right? That's up to the voters. The voters got to vote them people out if they don't like these laws, all right? But it's not, we're going to use our power. Our goal as a company is to have this thing repealed. All right. I feel like this is an important point that a lot of people just don't pay attention to or just don't care. All right. And so when DeSantis and in Florida say, okay, this is how y'all want to get down. All right. Hey, maybe you guys have way more influence than you should in this state. And maybe we need to cut into that. All right. Because you guys are trying to overturn the Florida people's legislation of what they've decided for themselves. I would say this in any case. OK. Even if it was some company that was standing up, say, hey, man, we're going to try to get all of these abortion laws overturned, or we're going to try to, no. That's not your job, okay? Your job is to be a company, all right? Even if I agree with you, I'm like, yeah, that's not your place, all right? You go be a company and do what companies do, all right? Let the voters or whatever handle this. That's not your position in that. And again, I always hold that, all right? We got to start separating companies and businesses from, the government. All right. That's literal fascism. All right. And then, of course, they say Iger also noted that Disney fumbled the response. Yeah, they did kind of fumble the response because Chapek should have stood firm on his position and not given in. And we believe that in us taking that position, we're merely exercising our right of free speech. Yeah, that's a little bit more than free speech. Okay, saying that you are basically going to do everything in your power to make sure that that thing is overturned. And you're like one of the biggest companies on the planet. Yeah, that's a little bit more than just exercising your right to free speech, in my opinion. And then you got like tweets like this with dudes like with every possible like icon and symbol up there in their bio. There have been rumors that Disney could elect to leave and just shut down immediately. Multiple reports indicated that numerous states have opened the door for Disney, including Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Colorado, and Texas. Look, there's no way in hell that this company is. Do y'all think these cats could just pack up and move, right? Let me show you something. Now, this is a side-by-side shot of the city of San Francisco, all right, and Disney World. Kind of comparable, right? This is San Francisco. This is Disney World. Do you think you could just pack up an entire city, all right, which is pretty much what Disney World is, and move, all right? Just throw it in the back of a U-Haul and go? It's not happening, man. Are you kidding me? And I think this is why Iger is so mad, okay? I think this is why Iger is mad, because he knows he's stuck, okay? He's stuck. He's angry and he's stuck. And he knows there's nothing that he can do about it. And he's probably wishing right now that Disney had just kept their nose out of this all the way around, all right? Just kept their nose out of it and didn't get involved, because guess what? Now you've lost your special tax district, okay? You should have just stayed out of the politics like Bob Chapek wanted. Initially, Bob Chapek like, hey, we ain't even gonna talk about it, okay? We're gonna stay all the way out of it. We're just gonna focus on this stuff. We'll make our woke content and do all of this crap. Yeah, this is what Ron DeSantis had said. As the controversy over the parental rights and education bill was coming to a head, Chapek called me. He did not want Disney to get involved, but he was getting a lot of pressure to weigh in against the bill. Yeah, he was pressured into this, all right? And maybe Chapek understood something that all of these woke idiots didn't. Okay, you're actually risking, okay? You're risking our business. You guys got to shut up, all right? I'm the CEO. Let me just deal with this, okay? We'll pump out more woke content. Don't worry. We'll still be, strong on the woke side. All right. But yeah, we're not going to say anything about this state. And look, he said that he told Chapek that while the company would face 48 hours of outrage when the bill passed, and then when he signed it, the furor would dissipate. All right. And I've already did a video about this. I'll go ahead and link that above if you guys didn't check it. But yeah, this thing probably would have just blew over in a couple of weeks, all right? People would probably still be barking and griping and complaining about it, but they would still have their special tax district, okay? And they would still be able to do all the stuff that they have been doing for the last 60 years, okay? But now all of that stuff is gone, okay? You stuck your foot in your mouth. You should have just said, hey, we're not getting involved. Oh, well. So let's get down to the brass tacks finally, right? That was a long lead up, but I thought that was important to kind of give you the background of where we're at and how we got here, okay? All right, so here we are. Here's the lawsuit, the federal lawsuit, right? Filed in the U.S. District Court, all right? So this is the federal lawsuit. Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, U.S., that's the plaintiff, versus Ron DeSantis, and then all of these people, right? And then most of these people are from the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, okay? CFTOD. There's no real easy way to say that without saying CFTOD. I'm going to call him Ceftod, like Cef, CEFTOD. I'm going to call him that for the rest of this video, okay? Because I don't feel like saying all of that. And here's kind of the major sticking point of all of this. Most of this stuff is just background. And then you get to this particular topic right here. Amid increasing retaliatory state action, Disney and Reedy Creek execute 2 long-term land use contracts after publicized and open hearings. All right, so they came up with these 2 contracts kind of in the 0 hour, right before Reedy Creek was about to be out the door. They tried to slide this stuff in under the door as kind of a gotcha to Florida, right? It's like, yeah, we can keep control of the district. We're going to do whatever we want to do until like the last member of the royal family dies or some stupid nonsense like that, right? They tried to slide this in at the 0 hour, and they said, yo, we had publicized open hearings. Okay, we did what we were supposed to do. Okay, now, so with that being said, I'm going to switch it up to Legal Mindset. He's basically going to break this down for us so that we can all understand it in the plainest possible way, okay? He put together a series of shorts. He has a longer video on it, and you guys can definitely, again, go check out his channel and see what he has to say. But I'm going to kind of cut up these particular shorts and lay it out in just bullet point format so that you guys can understand exactly where this thing could possibly go wrong for Disney if they didn't mind all their P's and Q's.
And I've done direct work with both Disney, across the board from Disney, as well as with the Reedy Creek Special District during my time in Central Florida. So this is indeed my area of expertise. And one thing I know in this world is that you need to follow the statutes exactly. In the world of government, statutes are not a suggestion. It's not like a speed limit. Within 5 miles an hour, we're all right. No. You need to strictly adhere to every word of a statute. They're not recommendations. They are hard and fast requirements. It is meant to stop you at the onset. So if you try to do something and you don't follow the statutes, you're done. What statutes are relevant? When we're talking about statutes, what statutes are relevant here? Well, those were actually brought up in the board packet in April for the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. And they give you the specific relevant part of the Florida statutes that applies here. And I'll just read that to you. The Florida Local Government Development Agreement contains an express mandatory notice provision, which provides in relevant part before entering into amending or revoking a development agreement. That's what they did here. They entered into a development agreement. A local government shall conduct at least 2 public hearings. So whenever you hear that word shall, we just heard a shall there. That means they must, not maybe, but must. We'll skip over to 2A. It says notice of intent to consider a development agreement shall be advertised approximately 7 days before each public hearing in a newspaper of general circulation. That would count, for example, the Orlando Sentinel. And here's the killer. Here's the kicker. We're going to highlight this right here for you guys. Notice of intent to consider a development agreement shall, once again, shall. So that's a must, not optional, must. It absolutely 100% must be mailed out to all property owners within the Reedy Creek District, every single one of them. And not the major ones. Once again, this critical language here, all affected property owners. So not some, not just Disney because they're the biggest, but all. If you do not meet all of these requirements, these specific requirements, do not pass go, do not collect $200. The development agreement never exists and there's no standing, no leg to stand on. Why might this be a problem, my friends? Well, it turns out that they may not have mailed notice to everybody. Now,
all right, so you guys just heard Legal Mindset break this thing down. Pretty plain, obvious language, right? Okay, they have certain things that they got to do. Bullet point, bang, 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 bang. You got to do all of these things in order to, get this contract or this agreement to move forward, all right? And if you don't do these things, and it's all about notification, if you don't do all of the notification items, all right, this thing doesn't even get to first base, all right? This whole lawsuit is done. It's dead in the water, all right? And here's where they talk about their districts publicized in open hearings. They say, oh, yeah, we did that, right? We had our discussions at the public hearings, okay? And here's the first one, right? Reedy Creek issued its first public notice in the Orlando Sentinel, hereby notified, blah, 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 okay? So they did that, all right? That was the first notice. And then it says 2 days later, after the first public hearing, Reedy Creek published that second notice in the Orlando Sentinel, and notice hereby is given in blah, 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 okay? So they took care of the 2 notifications. They took care of putting it in a paper, right? And, in the Orlando Sentinel, like Legal Mindset said, but nowhere in here do you see it mentioned that they actually mailed out all mailers. Okay, all the mailings went to all affected parties that live within Reedy Creek or that work or reside within Reedy Creek. And that could be hotels, that could be other businesses, whatever the case may be. All right. Nowhere in here does it talk about that. The only thing it talks about is, oh yeah, we had the publicized and open hearings and we put them in the Sentinel. Okay. But if you didn't do everything, then again, you don't even get off first base. You don't even make it to first base. Okay. You just struck out. Now, we're going to listen to this other piece. This is from the Disney's earnings call that just took place not too long ago, okay? A couple of days ago. And in this earnings call, you're going to hear Bob Iger basically admit to something that he probably shouldn't be admitting to, right? Because his argument is that the state of Florida has retaliated against Disney for exercising its freedom of speech, okay? However, the actions that Florida took are entirely against the Reedy Creek Improvement District, okay? So Disney and Reedy Creek should not be one and the same. I think we can all understand that, okay? These are 2 completely separate entities. One is a private company, one is a governmental body, all right? And neither the twain shall ever meet or coexist together as one group, all right? But let's listen to what Bob Iger says, because how they wrangle this all out legally is going to be very interesting.
But since there's been a lot said about special districts and the arrangement that we had, I want to set the record straight on that too. There are about 2,000 special districts in Florida, and most were established to foster investment and development, where we were one of them. It basically made it easier for us and others, by the way, to do business in Florida. And we built a business that employs, as we've said before, over 75,000 people and attracts tens of millions of people to the state. So while it's easy to say that the Reedy Creek Special District that was established for us over 50 years ago benefited us, it's misleading to not also consider how much Disney benefited the state of Florida. And we're not the only company operating a special district. I mentioned 2,000. The Daytona Speedway has one. So do the Villages, which is a prominent retirement community, and there are countless others. So the goal here is leveling the playing. If the goal is leveling the playing field, then a uniform application of the law of or government oversight of special districts needs to occur or be applied to all special districts.
Okay, so you basically just heard Bob Iger admit out loud, right, that Disney is operating Reedy Creek, okay? That Disney is running and operating Reedy Creek, the Reedy Creek Improvement District. And then he's trying to use the whole whataboutism argument. Well, they're doing it too. We got all these other 2,000 special districts and they're all doing it. It's like, bro, that's not the, like, first of all, Disney is getting privileges that these other districts aren't getting, all right? But that's honestly besides the point, all right? The question is Reedy Creek Disney and is Disney Reedy Creek, are they one and the same, okay? Because if they are one and the same, that opens Disney up to an entirely new set of issues, a whole new set of problems. I think we can all agree and understand, regardless of whose side you're on in this situation, I think we can all agree that a private company cannot also be a government, all right? Disney cannot operate a government. Can you imagine if Walmart could just operate its own government? Think about that for a minute. Issue its own municipal bonds, okay? Determine like the tax rates for the residents of that particular area or whatever. Imagine if that was going down, all right? No. That would be absolutely insane. It cannot happen, okay? Private companies running their own governments within this country. That's absolutely ridiculous. Because now you're talking about tax fraud. Now you're talking about securities fraud. Now you're talking about some real problems for Disney and for all of the entity, all the CEOs that they've had over the years, okay? Bob Iger included, okay? Bob Chapek included. Bob Chapek probably like, man, I was trying to tell these dudes to leave that alone, you know? I was trying to tell them, hey, man, we don't need to be messing with this stuff, okay? Bob Chapek probably knows more about the property laws and the issues that are going down than Bob Iger does, who works out of California. Bob Iger probably doesn't know all of the stuff that's happening. And maybe they're overstepping their bounds. This could be their very worst mistake that they've ever made. Because if Florida wanted to push it to that level, say, oh, you guys was running the thing the whole time. Who knows what they could say, play dumb. I don't know how this all could work out. But if it turns out that they're admitting to this, I mean, securities fraud, like, are you guys issuing bonds so that you could get a better rate? Are you issuing municipal bonds instead of corporate bonds so you could get a better rate on the bonds that you're issuing? Is that what's happening here? It could go really sideways real fast, okay? And this could absolutely destroy Disney, or at least take a lot of these bigwig CEO types and take these guys down. Like, I mean, seriously. So I'm not sure if that's going to be the play. I don't think that'll be the play. And let me get to this part. But the second part of this thing, I think the most important part of this thing is this question of, can a legislative body make decisions and run the government of its own state? And I think you guys would all answer yes. So therefore, they can make changes where they see fit, okay? They can give or remove privileges as they see fit for their various special districts, okay? Remember, the legislative body is elected by the people of Florida. The state senators or the state representatives, they are elected by the people of Florida. Floridians put those people in power to speak on their behalf. That's why I say it's ridiculous for any company to try to come in and overrule or repeal or something, a law that they don't like within the state. So the people of Florida, they get to say what the laws are in their own state. Okay, they and the people they elect into office, they get to say, okay, these are going to be the laws, these are not going to be the laws, okay, like the parental rights of education bill. Or in the case of this lawsuit, right, what special districts will have what privileges, okay? They get to make those decisions, not Disney, not the federal government. Okay, the people of Florida get to decide that. This should have been a state case all the way. It has absolutely nothing to do with the federal government other than the fact that Disney is trying to insert this First Amendment thing, okay, in order to try to, have the federal courts overturn what the state has already decided. Can you imagine the precedent that would state? That would set an incredible precedent. So that's where we get to this prayer for relief, okay? This is what Disney wants out of all of this, okay? They basically want to say that everything Florida did was unlawful and unenforceable, right? Okay? Unlawful. It was unlawful taking Disney's property rights without payment or whatever. It was unlawful and unenforceable because it was arbitrary. It was unlawful and unenforceable because it was enacted in retaliation for Disney. Okay. They want to declare that these contracts that they entered into are in effect and are enforceable. All right. That these Senate bills are unlawful and unenforceable. Basically, they're saying just wipe the whole thing out. Okay. And we get all of our privileges back just as we had them. That's what they're looking to do. Okay. And they're basically saying, yeah, Florida shouldn't have any say in how we run things over here. We're Disney, like that's basically what's happening here. And they're going to take it to federal court. They didn't start at state court. All right. Because Ron DeSantis, we can't do that. We'll have to go and, make up some First Amendment nonsense. OK, and try to go with that. Now, my opinion. OK, here's what I think is going to ultimately end up happening. OK, when all is said and done and all the smoke clears and all the talking stops. All right. Disney's going to end up dropping this lawsuit. That's my opinion. I could be 100% wrong and you guys can come back and tell me that I'm wrong. But that's what I think is going to happen. All right. Because you got to figure the couple of reasons why Disney did this. Number one, Disney knows that they don't really have a leg to stand on. Okay. They have no leverage in the state of Florida. Okay. When the entire government is against you or pretty much saying, nah, this is what we're doing. There's literally nothing you can do. You're pretty much stuck. So they had to find leverage somewhere, all right? And they know that Ron DeSantis, that's the only reason they even put Ron DeSantis' name in this thing is because they know Ron DeSantis is running or talking about running for president. He's considering a presidential run, all right? And does he really want to be bogged down with all of this litigation and all of this nonsense and all of this bad press, all right, while he's on the campaign trail? Probably not, okay? So that's the way I'm looking at this, is that Disney, they're going to try to go and get some of their stuff back. They're going to go into Ceftide. They're going to sit down. All right, fellas, let's sit down. Let's talk. Okay, let's talk about all of this stuff that's going on right now. Let's try to negotiate some better agreements for our, company, for Disney World and everything. Because again, remember, Disney World's like the only thing making money right now or consistently making money for Disney. Their parks anyway. They're the only ones that are really solidly making money. So they're probably like, we really can't afford to lose the parks or lose any control over the parks. We got to keep as much control over Disney World as possible. All right. So let's go in here with this in our back pocket. All right. It might not be very good. It might not be much, but it's probably easier to drop the lawsuit after they come to some sort of a negotiated agreement. All right, we'll give you a little bit. You'll do this. You'll do that. You'll kill all the woke nonsense. All right. And then you can have your privileges back, or maybe some privileges, but not all. And then we can yank these joints at any time if you guys decide to act up. Some kind of an agreement's going to be come to in that. And then Disney will just drop the suit. They'll come out with the big splash. Oh, everybody, we all kissed and made up. Okay. And they'll have Bob Iger with his arm around Ron DeSantis. Hey, buddy. Ha 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 ha. They'll do something. Okay. That's my opinion. That's the way I think this thing will all come out, and they'll basically want to kind of put this thing to bed as soon as possible. Disney has enough problems on their hands without having this lawsuit to worry about. All right. That's the number one thing. So I think Disney is going to find a way to get into there with Ceftide, say, hey, fellas, let's sit down. Let's talk. We promised to drop the lawsuit, but we want you guys to do something. Otherwise, it's bad for both sides. Okay. Florida might have the upper hand, all right, but taking Disney down doesn't look good for DeSantis, doesn't look good for Florida either, all right, in certain ways, okay? I'm saying in some ways it's actually good, okay, but in other ways it's not, because business is on the line. There's a lot of local businesses around there that are going to be hurt by Disney going through all of this stuff and and if they do take them down, and I honestly believe Florida has the upper hand in spades. They could absolutely take Disney all the way down. But does that help Florida? Does that help their tourism? Does that help all of the money that's being made in Central Florida and the Orlando area? How do the Orlando residents feel about that? I just think that overall, they're going to come to some sort of an agreement. Lawsuits will be dropped and everybody will just go back to their corners doing what they did. Okay, that's my opinion. But you guys let me know what you think about this whole situation. I find it all absolutely fascinating. And I can't wait to see how this thing plays out. What's the next step and all of this. But you guys go ahead, jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. And thanks for watching. See you next time.